picks and bans. This is a really strong matchup. I think the Burrito and Elevate are perhaps on each other's same levels, and that's really what you want to look at. You want to find watching Burrito get stomped out by the defending world champs isn't really fun, and it doesn't really tell you any, more importantly, it doesn't tell you anything about the unit. Now, watching Burrito play against Elevate, that's a different story. That's going to tell us about the unit. Fafnir, Osiris, Kernanos, really meta bans here. Circuit as well, nothing really out of the ordinary. And during the ban phase, first pick goes to Burrito.
Burrito is one of these teams that are still learning as the split goes on, whereas Elevate is going through some growing pains right now. Their new, or former jungler, Cherio, now coming into Elevate, trying to replace Fails, Nika in this situation here. Nemesis being locked in for that jungler.
Bologna on the other side, very strong. Again, sort of like the bans, a very meta pick. Character that just works very well with Death Toll. The cleave effect is certainly still there, though not as strong as it once was. Terra and Nemesis, as totally mentioned, will be the jungler, the Guardian and the jungler, respectively. And then the other side, Burrito will have Soul. I would say likely in the mid lane, but we've seen her picked up in the Hunter role as well.
You never really know where Soul's going to go, but I like the counter-intuitive here of Nemesis-Terra combination here. You have the pure damage form of the jungler, and then you have great control in that Guardian position. Now securing more control here in the form of Arlong Shen for Elevate. Pretty well-balanced composition thus far.
Yeah, well-rounded, as you were about to say. Elevate, they start their ban process off by taking care of Thor. So 3 jungle bans already from Elevate, specifically taking Susano out of the cases or the hands of Burrito. You know, talking about Johnny, we mentioned it on the desk earlier, me and Zach. Johnny has been very interesting, and I want to see how he does against Elevate. Against an even-placed team, I think that Elevate has to be afraid of the jungler.
He had such a dominant performance during the relegations, but trying to find his groove here in the SPL summer split needs to find that right momentum to carry him through some of these games. But it's not just a one-man show. Everybody's got to step it up in Burrito if they want to grab some wins, at least one, in this split.
Khepri and Thanatos will be the selections. And I like the way they choose these two characters. They wait until the end to reveal the Khepri, because then Elevate could go to Thanatos to counter the ultimate. So they wait until the last part. They're able to select both Khepri and Thanatos, which leaves Giannis as the mid lane of choice for Elevate.
Nalissa is one of these players that loves the Giannis. Kind of was hiding it in her back pocket for quite a while, but now last picking it here in this set against Burrito. It seems to me that Elevate, they want to play very aggressive with their composition. They have the global presence from the Terra with that extra mobility. Jingwei obviously is going to be all over the map, and now with this Giannis, I'm expecting Elevate to do some really aggressive invades once she hits level 5.
Well, we'll see if that will be the case or not. Nulissa on that Giannis, as we've said, but Cherio on the Nemesis. I like this character a lot for Cherio. He likes to have a sort of support mindset. Nemesis definitely bodes well for that idea, more assisting and setting up the teammates with things like the ultimate and the slows. And then, of course, people always talk about his ping or his lag when it comes to Cherio. Well, you can't miss the Nemesis ultimate.
No, you can't really miss that at all. Burrito trying to find a nice little boxing match. I like this idea because Fusify on the Khepri has more presence at level 1 compared to Dardus on the Terra, but a great placement of this Persistent Gust, giving the dual lane out of Elevate quite an advantage.
Yeah, this is one of the setups that we were very scared of when Terra and Jingwei first started to become unveiled as a dual lane. Johnny, though, in trouble.
Great bail out, though, from Death Panther. Nice last hit by Cherio, being able to secure his own speed buff. I like the idea that Johnny had. He actually walked past the Nemesis just to try to secure that speed buff with the Death Siphon. Was a little bit missed timing of that set of circumstances, but either way, the attempt was there, and he recognized that he still had 2 members right around the corner that could bail him out.
So Thanatos heads right on back to the mid lane here, or yeah, the mid lane there. On the left side, we're going to see an invade coming out from Burrito into the enemy's purple buff. It looks like it'll be successful.
We've seen different styles of the Jingwei, sometimes being left alone in a 1v2. Some of these hunters electing to leave their Jingwei alone 1v2, but not this time out of Elevate. They want to really play aggressive. These Bruise brothers of a dueling, dating way back to early 2015 during their time in Myrmidons. These two players here out of Elevate will always want to play together.
With that said, Fusify and Kaspanify also seem to be set up as a strong unit. Here's the Death Side chunking Nulissa nice and early, and she's not going to get out of that one. Kaspanify gets the first blood. Cherio answers back for Elevate, taking down Johnny, and Dardes gets Fusify as well. The dual lane for Burrito falls, but not until they get their first blood, taking down Nulissa.
Great position by Elevate, trying to collapse 4-on-2, but they didn't get 4 at the timing that they wanted to. Nulissa was one of those stray gazelles that got caught by the Lion Pack, but at the end of the day, though, Elevate, they get the better end of it, so they walk away pretty clean, only sacrificing their mid laner.
Yeah, a little bit rough there for Elevate, but that just goes to show you why the Thanatos is so powerful early game, that Death Scythe does so much damage.
But the problem here, though, despite Burrito getting that first blood onto Nulissa, Giannis is still one of these utility-style mages that can still play from behind, whereas Thanatos on the jungle role needs to be ahead, needs to kind of stay ahead to make a true impact, and as a result of that death here from Johnny, Cherio's level 5, whereas Johnny's struggling to get level 4 still.
I mean, yeah, what it comes down to is that Thanatos just has to race to level 5. It doesn't really matter if he's behind, then as long as he has the execute on board. He's really just an old bot, so it's really irrelevant if he's ahead or behind. What is very relevant, however, is the Giannis, and the fact that she just wasn't near the wall. The positioning needs to get fixed, and we'll see that as the game goes on and gets later, but that death right there would have been saved had she hugged a wall.
Despite dying, though, with those 2 assists, out farming Death Panther, hitting level 5 before the soul in that mid roll, and this is going to be an interesting tale as the game progresses to see how much damage can the soul on Death Panther really do, because she's going to be trying to set up that execute threshold for Johnny.
That's the idea. Whether or not it'll actually happen that way is a different story, but certainly the game plan is to set up that execute for Johnny.
And Soul is one of these gods that progresses so well in that mid to late game. The scaling on all her abilities, especially if she can get that 100% heat threshold. If we see Fusify or Sibi go for that Shogun's Kusari, going to be stacking up that heat passive meter, just increasing her attack speed and magical power.
Yeah, somebody's got to buy a Shogun's Kusari. You have about 2.5 basic attack users, Death Panther, Kaspanify, and then what's it called? Bellona's about half and half. She's ability-based, but you always want to take advantage of those weapons that she has.
Absolutely. Between all 3 of her abilities, especially her first one, the Shield Bash, which every 3rd hit gives you that Shield Stack Bash where it'll reflect some of the damage, whereas the 3rd ability, the Scourge, you're looking for that extra life proc on every 3rd hit.
Nulissa here on the Giannis wants to get a little bit feisty with the red buff. I love her positioning here, by the way. She's going to be able to bail people out with a portal or an ultimate if need be. Stays on the other side, understanding that her damage can be applied through the wall. Before, I kind of lamented it when she gave up first blood. She earned it all back. Perfect Giannis positioning in that situation.
Johnny in a world of her, taking a little bit of poke, but nice little beads.
Dardes going for it.
He could have actually still body blocked Johnny for a little bit longer. Could have absorbed potentially 2 more tower shots, but respecting the damage out of the tower at an early game. Only level 6 Terra with only Traveler shoes.
If Dardes finds that body block, Nulissa hits, and that becomes a kill. So very important play that he kind of panics out of that one.
But either way, though, all the damage that he takes, it's going to be negated by the HP 5 coming from these Traveler shoes, rolling back into safety, because Painify really respecting this potential gank out of Cherio, who's been kind of all over the place, you know, looking for some invades here on the red buff earlier on, and now making an impact still in the dual lane, trying to get Jermaine ahead.
And Jermaine on the Rom, or excuse me, Jermaine on the Jingwei is a player that we've really seen a lot of. What's your take on the Jingwei-Rom matchup here these days?
So Burrito picked the Rom, I believe, against Jermaine, just to not allow him to have it before the secondary ban phase. And to respond, Jermaine locks in the Jingwei because she's one of the most safest hunters you can play, honestly, with her passive. Despite the nerf earlier on this split, being able to reduce it by 1 second. Now you go back into the lane around the tier 2 tower instead of between the tier 1 and tier 2. But either way, the attack speed steroid as well as the physical power, once you take your own persistent gust agility combination, is the mid-game power spike that you're looking at of Jermaine, whereas Caspainify is going to take a longer time to come online. He has to max out his second ability to get that huge attack speed boost.
And so Caspainify really more about the basic attacks as through and through, looking for the steroid to help out, whereas Jermaine will hit his stride a little bit early because of the ability-based characteristics of the Hunter. So two very different characters here, although they occupy the same position. Very interesting.
That's right, because Ron wants to max out the Astral Arrows first to clear the wave, whereas Jermaine is maxing out the Gust to clear the wave and to get the steroid anyway. So Jermaine is going to get the advantage up until about the 13 to 14 minute mark, when Caspainify will catch up.
And in that regard, as Death Panda gets in trouble underneath the tower, Jermaine is going to be relevant in team fights a little bit sooner as well, simply because of the fact of the way the characters work. Caspainify only has damage. Now, there's a small cripple on the roll, but that's pretty much it. It's just damage. Jermaine is going to provide knockups, which will set up the damage for his teammates, which may or may not be earlier game than he.
A little bit of trouble is Johnny. The Nemesis ultimate comes out. Supernova trying to save his life through space and time was used, but a great revive.
Oh, but the wrong spot. He gets revived around the corner. He would have been safer out of the tower, but either way, still alive for the moment. Hovering, and literally hovering, waiting to see if anybody fell beneath that threshold, but only level 8, not too high there.
Death Panther was in mid lane. Supernova already used, not in position to get off a Stellar Burst as his speed buff was invaded, just out of position here as Elevate was the ones that got the first strike, and a very important first strike to allow them the additional speed buff invade and a lot of ultimates expended.
Very lucky for Burrito and Fusify and Johnny right there. Johnny was safe under the tower and got hit by the Khepri ultimate, right? And Johnny, if he keeps walking towards base, he doesn't die, he's safe, and everybody's happy. But he stops walking, Fusify saves his life and makes him even more in danger than he was before. That was a poor play by Johnny to stop moving, and the only play for Fusify to save his jungler. That was, if Johnny dies there, he yells at Khepri, and that's one of those situations where, ooh.
Yeah.
Just damned if you do, damned if you don't.
And the revive still technical half a kill because that denies him all the farm here, being revived between the tier 1 and the tier 2 tower. The only thing he was being able to secure for himself was those back harpies. Not something that you're really hoping for as a jungler. You want to be able to secure your own buffs, but Elevate, they're not giving Johnny much breathing room here, which is a good idea considering this Thanatos was already behind from that earlier death.
Yeah, it's going to be trouble for the mid lane Soul, but the transformation to help him out. But Elevate here, I mean, even with the first blood, have had the lead of a couple of thousand very easily. Even when Burrito got first blood and there was nothing but 1 and 2, I mean, there still is nothing but 1 and 2. But the moment that Burrito gets first blood, Elevate were up 800 gold at the time. So, I mean, that just goes to show you that Elevate have been able to rotate the map a little bit more efficiently and find a couple more of those red buff invades that we saw on the left side.
Death Panther taking a lot of damage. Darda is going to get credited with that kill from the damage over time, connecting on the death side.
Beautiful.
But taking the portal back under the tier 1 tower. Johnny needs to be careful because Darda's, despite being a Terra, still has a decent amount of damage under her kit.
One thing I like there, I want to point out in Ulysses Yana's play, is she comes through and she primes the ultimate and does a 360. She's not trying to like MLG moment or anything. She goes over into the jungle to see if anybody on the enemy team is perhaps coming from the left side, most notably the Hunter, and then aims towards her target. Gotta be aware.
The mobility being used from the Khepri ultimate, hovering death being used, but nobody in that kill threshold. Terra's blessing from Dardas just to help out Nalissa get safe, because not only does it make you increased in the mobility department, but it gives you those 4 stones, and every single hit you take removing one of them, once all 4 are removed, you get that extra heal. It gets you out of the kill threshold, allowing you to continue the battle.
Here comes the right side battle, however. Fusify in trouble, can't ult himself. No numbers, he's got one, and it's in the kill column.
Johnny can only be a spectator as his speed buff response yet again, having to go for his back harpies. Not too pleasant of a time here for this Thanatos jungler, losing his speed buff 2 times in a row, and already on the left. What happens on the right happens on the left. Elevate, they're delaying the Gold Fury intentionally here just to get these other little smaller objectives.
Well, that's beads for Kismatify. Not a good look.
Mid lane still looking to put pressure under this tier 1 mid tower. Elevate are very content here to get the less than average objectives. Their mindset is not about this Portal Demon, not about even the Oracle's Gold Fury, up until now, finally, where they are sitting very pretty in the experience department, having these little level advantages here as Jermaine's 2 levels over Kispanify. Having this power spike could potentially start the Gold Fury.
Well, listen, it's about the slow lead, right? And the slow bleed, excuse me. Elevate, listen, if they invade on the red buff, if everything goes bad, maybe they lose 1 or 2 players. If they go for a Gold Fury and they lose it, maybe they lose a Gold Fury tie game all of a sudden. So by going for the smaller events, it's risk versus reward. The risk that you lose it is even smaller, but check this one.
The Portal Demon being started by Cherio. Nemesis does a lot of damage with her kit. The way that passive works, removing protections and gaining the power, it's being easily done here. It's being cleaned up even by Nalissa's rotation just for that split second. Now Dart is taking through that portal. Mid the lane tier 1 tower hasn't been really touched quite yet by Elevate, but with that Portal Demon, this could allow the rest of Elevate to start putting pressure on that mid lane.
For Burrito, their early game is very unfortunate. Johnny has this Thanatos, and I just don't see the synergy with the rest of the squad. I see the Thanatos counter pick, the anti-pick with the Khepri. But at that point, Cherio had Nemesis 20 years ago. It was second picked. It seems to be no reason for this Thanatos to fit.
It just seems to me that they were trying to focus out the Terra here, but they didn't get many opportunities to do so. Gonna go through a little ride through the portal. Johnny already at half health, not able to get the engage that he wants
big hit! Fusify gets knocked up. He's in big trouble. Has to use the ultimate on himself. No numbers, gets healed up, and Johnny wasn't anticipating the heal, so he just goes for the stun. Cherio takes down Panther. Nalissa takes down Sibi, while Jermaine deals with the Thanatos. One's left on the mid lane. It's Kispanify. Goes to the sky looking for the shots. As soon as he falls, there's a welcoming party into the puddle. And he rolls away, but 1 or 2 shots will do it. 2, 0, and 3 for no numbers. Elevate off to a tear. 5K lead.
4 for nothing. Getting this tier 1 mid tower. Elevate extending their lead even further. They were ahead about 8.7K experience not even 2 minutes ago. Already getting a huge 5,000 experience boost off of that one small encounter. This is the kind of momentum that Elevate are really known for. Once they start grouping up in these team fights, there's just really no stopping them.
I gotta give Burrito an excuse, or excuse me, I gotta give Johnny an excuse, which is I don't like excuses, but I don't like the Thanatos pick, and whoever selected it is the person that did it wrong. Johnny's performance on the Thanatos has been fine. He sets up the first blood. He doesn't get it, but he might as well have. The death size slows down the Giannis, and he's 0-2-1, unable to really do much else because Thanatos is the early game invader. But the meta right now is invade, which means there's going to be units of people. Thanatos theoretically can 1v2, I guess, but SMITE at a pro level, you can't do that. It's 1v1v1, 2v2, etc., etc., etc. With the players or the composition around him, Anatoly, Johnny just wasn't set up for an early game invade strategy against everybody else.
It just didn't seem that the cards went his favor. The dealt cards were not his hand. And Elevate, because they got so many speed buff invades, they slowly started putting more and more pressure on the Thanatos, despite finding that first blood onto Nalissa. The death of Johnny just heavily outweighing the first blood bounty.
It's very different. It's unlike poker and more like a TCG draft, though. Burrito selected those cards. They weren't just giving it to him. Burrito selected those cards and said, all right, we have 4 diamonds. You know what we really need? A club. Go, Johnny, pick Thanatos.
But sometimes it's also about how you play your hand, and Burrito, they just didn't group up in time to allow Johnny to get some of these executes online. The damage from Death Panther was heavily negated just alone from this Terra sustain off of that ultimate.
Yeah, Look at that cheeky portal. Love that one. Allowing the flank to happen on the left-hand side. The portal enables Cherio to walk behind the Hunter. And now that's going to leave Kaspanify in a world of hurt. Jermaine puts the last one into Death Panther. And now it looks like Johnny is on the spot as well. 2 for Jermaine. That one, not even looking at the tower here, folks. That's all Cherio's job. They're chasing down Sibby. Nulissa even tosses out the ultimate.
Oh, Kaspanify was in the red threshold. That was almost a hit here for Nulissa. Nulissa's just messing around now at this point. Darda's even trying to dive the tier 2 tower just to stun Fusify, just to say that he can.
That you said something to remind that, like, the way they get a lead and they don't really let go is elevate. No, that's really elevate. You gotta have fun with the win. Elevate, and you want to know what? Nulissa, I like the fact that I see her sort of joining in on what was Darda's and Jermaine for so long, right? And listen, I think that Jermaine once got fined for trolling in a game. I think those years are beyond them. I think that they're now have found the line and they're willing to have fun up against that line. And seeing Nulissa buy in, that's very important to me. I'm not just making a meme here, folks. I think it's very important that the team plays as a unit, whether it's invading a speed buff or taunting the guy that died. You got to be on the same, like, level. You know what I'm saying?
They're all feeling very confident right now because we heard them on the listen-ins back in their group LAN performance when they were kind of questioning themselves.
Sure.
We heard them when Jermaine wanted to do one thing, Nulissa wanted to do the other, but this time every wheel is turning together at the same exact rate. And Nulissa, feeling so confident despite that earlier death, the only death from her team, still went for the Doom Orb, respecting the fact that the rest of her teammates are still going to be behind her to be able to bail her out if needed. Not only that, she has so many escape options.
Yeah, I love what Elevate are doing right now, and we'll see if they can continue winning. Burrito, on the other hand, this is a squad that's up and coming, and they have a lot of lessons to learn. I have a lot of faith in this squad, to be honest with you. And the Thanatos pick, again, I don't think it's Johnny's play. I think it's just a pick in general. I think this is something they learn from.
Tier 2 tower being sieged, knocking up Kaspanify through the portal on the right. Supernova doing a little bit of damage, but not as much as Burrito would want.
I really like that pull out of Fusify. Finding no numbers just a little bit ahead. Okay, Johnny, I've made enough excuses. I don't know what that ultimate was. Luckily, Fusify saves him. Can't do the same for Death Panther. That Thanatos ultimate might have ruined the entire team fight. Elevate chasing to the Phoenix.
But there's not much they could do. They're just too far behind in the experience. Sibby is going to be that fourth victim, Johnny walking away. But we haven't really touched upon it too much here. I like the idea that Darda's had picking up that Aegis, by the way, just to avoid the execute from Thanatos. But Johnny picked up this Thanatos to try to negate some of the slows coming out of Cherio. Between the slice and dice, between the ultimate, you pop your steroid as Thanatos, you get immunity from the slow. Darda is going to take the depth side, but doesn't matter. Johnny is going to be that unofficial deicide as Death Panther does revive, left alone to defend 1v5. But Elevate are very content to retreat after that Phoenix, probably going to go for the Fire Giant.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, everybody heading back to base. Elevate had that. All right. Okay.
I mean, it seems like everybody was going to revive anyway, close enough, but despite that, Burrito, they have a very tall... That's it, the surrender. I was going to say...
They're not letting them.